On today's episode of the Real Recovery Podcast, episode 55, we welcome Bear and Zane, founders of Crimanon, a fellowship dedicated to helping individuals recover from criminal addiction. They share how incarceration, moments of realization, and the power of community led them to create a movement breaking the cycle of crime. We explore the roots of criminal addiction, the challenges of change, and the role of mentorship and purpose in lasting recovery. Join us for a powerful conversation on resilience, second chances, and transformation.
Hello, and welcome to the Real Recovery Podcast. I'm Julie, your co-host. On this journey of healing and transformation, together with my co-host Peter, we dive into the heart of recovery, sharing stories that resonate with courage and inspiration.
That's right, Julie. Each episode is a new chapter in this vast narrative of recovery, and we're honored to bring them to you. But keep in mind, the perspectives you'll hear are for informational purposes only and may not reflect the views of the podcast or our partners.
Indeed, while these conversations can be a powerful part of your recovery toolkit, they are not substitute for professional medical advice. We encourage you to seek guidance from your healthcare provider for any treatment-related decisions.
And if you're facing an immediate crisis, or if you just need to talk to someone who understands, don't hesitate to call the Recovery Crisis Line at 503-223-8569. That number is also on our website. Help is available 24/7.
Now let's begin our episode
of recovery, real recovery.
Yes, all those years of collecting
decorating.
Elephants and stuff like that.
That's very close to me. I have an elephant on my necklace.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our elephant in the room.
Yeah,
that's what we call it.
exactly.
People don't talk
I got a lot of them.
They don't talk about the elephant in the room.
I love
Bear
that.
will tell you about it.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready? Okay. This is Julie from Real Recovery Podcast.
And Peter, and we have a couple of awesome guests today.
I'm so excited. We're here with Bear and Zane from
Hey,
Crimanon.
how you doing?
And I've heard some
Thank you.
stories about you, but I think this is going to be even better meeting you. It was Bo who introduced me to you and said, you got to get him on the show. So shout out to Bo from Oregon
All right.
Recovers.
Go Oregon
Our
Recovers.
friend.
Yeah.
And I know you wanted to do it together, but I'm sure you have separate stories and a together story. Bear, you want to get started with yours and then we'll merge them and do whatever?
Yeah, that's fine. The first seed was planted for Criminals Anonymous Fellowship. I think it was the day that I first realized that I had a criminal addiction.
Mm.
And so I was at Coffee Creek Correctional going into my next to last internment. I can't say it was my last, but it was next to last. And my roommate at the time, who is related to Zane, he was my roommate. He said, Barry, he said, we can get out of the cell for 2 hours. We can go to this DDA meeting. And I was like, all right, cool, man. Because they lock you down about 24 hours a day when you're in the intake center. This is before you go to your permanent camp.
I understand.
Yeah, we understand this, right? But for our listeners,
Yeah,
right?
for the listeners, yeah.
Just explain it. And I said, okay, all right. What's DDA? And he says, I don't know. It's called Dual Diagnosis Anonymous. And guess who was in the room? Corbett Monica. He was the founder of DDA. And he had brought in a meeting into the penitentiary. And he had talked about having DDA as dual diagnosis as you have a mental health piece, and then you also have an addiction piece. Henceforth, 2 dual diagnosis.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I got those. And then I said, wait a second, I got more than that. I'm like quadruple diagnosed at least,
Same
right?
here.
Come on, let's go, right? Let's hear it for co-occurring disorders. So I was like, I got it. It was an epiphany. It was the moment that the lens in which I saw my life changed. And there was a lot of, when I got out of prison that time, I went to college and a grant came up for a recovery program that was wrapped around high recidivists. And so that was our wheelhouse, was high recidivism. And I became very close with Corbett. The first week I was out of prison, he had me go down to the Capitol and receive an award for DDA. from the Attorney General. So I got to share my story with a bunch of senators and House reps and the Attorney General, and that he couldn't make it because of a family emergency, but he sent me on his behalf. What a time. Yeah, my life started to change. And I got really lucky, and during midterms, I wrote my first grant, and we won by over 150 points. And we had a nonprofit back then that was called Iron Tribe. And so we started Iron Tribe, and I was so busy with that.
I actually know.
Yeah. I was so busy with the creation of Iron Tribe that didn't have a lot of time to knew the criminal. We talked about the criminal addiction in Iron Tribe at our meetings and stuff, but it hadn't taken form in the form of Criminals Anonymous Fellowship. So I hate to say it, but it got shelved because all of a sudden now I'm real busy trying to run a nonprofit, and I don't really know how to run a nonprofit. And but I did have a fall from grace. I jumped out from Mount Everest, and I landed at the bottom, spread eagle on a big boulder. This is all metaphorical, by the way, but I did definitely fall from grace. Yeah. And I landed back in prison.
It's like a relapse.
Yeah, I relapsed. Yeah, and I landed back in prison, and that's where I ran into Zane. I got dropped into a bunk next to him, and I'll let him tell the story part. Zane, what happened when I got dropped into the bunk next to you?
First off, he was pretty hungry. He didn't have no canteen. He didn't have no money. And I just came from Mill Creek, and I had saved up a lot of money, and I had a lot of food. And so Bear out right away. I knew Bear from before, from when he was in Iron Tribe, because my sister worked for him. Yeah. And so what really happened was we started talking about what I was doing there, and the DA wanted to age me out. He said 3 times to the judge, let's age this man out. I have 57 felonies and 187 arrest cycles. So the judge actually ended up giving me one more chance, said he was going to give me treatment. So I went into treatment, and he landed right next to me. I showed Bear my paperwork, and he said, man, what are you going to do? What are you going to do different? At that point, I didn't know. Right. It's really, I didn't think wasn't going to do anything different. I was going to just keep doing what I was doing. I've been in prison 7 times.
Can I ask what your drug of choice is?
What
is your drug of choice?
Meth.
Me too.
Yeah. And so I would steal all night and go look around all day. And that was my life. That's what it consisted of. Anyway, so Bear said, you got to think about what you're going to do. And we got talking about it. And what I realized at that point was, just like Bear, I was addicted to crime more than I was drugs, more than I was anything. That was my life. And I got higher when I did crime than I did on the drugs. I have conscience normally, and the drugs would take that conscience away. And then I would go do what I really like to do. Like I said, when I had a lick and a pocket full of money and it's definitely something to get addicted to. And I was a full-blown addict. So when Crimanon took off, when we started meeting regularly and started talking about our steps and our precepts, we want to talk about hit home. Everything that's on those papers comes from inside.
Yeah, it's where we collaborated with Bo Brinson and some brothers, and we asked the institution at Columbia River Correctional, we asked the institution, the program manager, can we have a room? Can we invite brothers here to this room and start a Crimanon think tank? And they said, yes, we will. We'll give you that room. And so our sponsor was the programs manager. He stayed in another room next to us that had a glass window so he could look in. But he never came in that room. And we had it, for, I guess, about a year and a half. Our think tank, we got together once a week, and Bo Brinson from Oregon Recovers was one of those brothers that came to the think tank. We also have Will, who works for Miracles. Yeah, lots of cool people that are now change makers in the community were in that room, right? If you were to see the things that we have, and again, the things we've accomplished way surpassed what we put on paper back then.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that you're not back and you're out here and not in there. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't agree with you more. I never did an escort call unless I was high. Okay. In my personal life, I'm picky as fuck and I wouldn't, but what you will do. And the more money I made, I was chopping trees in prison for fucking $1, $2 a day, and talk about humbling. Mm. And I when I got out, I had to pay taxes. And that was humbling. Like, who the fuck wants to pay taxes? So
that's a big one.
it's true. It's like the amount of money, $5,000 a night or whatnot, or how much an hour, and then coming out and making $18 an hour, supporting a child, paying rent. It's a hard switch over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bear, I was curious, was your experience before prison, was it similar to Zane's where you felt that high off of the...
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Our first step in Crimanon, we admitted that we suffered an attachment. And attachment is Eastern philosophy. If you read our steps and precepts, I did a lot of studying next to Zane, and I'd share with him the things that I was getting out of these books. And those were our true teachers, right? We would share time with the Dalai Lama. And of course, I'm like excited, and I'm Zane, look at this and this concept, and this is huge. This is going to help us. And we really didn't know, but it formed after the year and a half of the think tank. And at the end, we had some steps and we had precepts, because we need a little more help supporting the steps, because the criminal addiction is pretty pernicious. You can imagine, and again, it's in our first step, that we say that we suffer an attachment to crime, the actual act of crime, where you get high off of doing crime.
Right.
And then the next one, we say the criminal lifestyle. So living the criminal lifestyle is like living at 120, right? You're not living at 80 or 70 like folks that are outside, not in the penitentiary do. And then the last part was our self-image, because our self-image was attached to who we were in the street, that our lives had become unmanageable. We were these great survivors. We called ourselves lots of different things. I remember in the county jail, we talked to VOA, had a program in Inverness, and I went up and asked them if I could do a presentation on the criminal addiction. And this was right before I landed next to Zane, and they said, okay, you can. And so I did a presentation on the criminal addiction, and it was funny. I went to the DSM, which is the diagnostic manual for different psychological disorders. Mm-hmm. It's what your psychologist used to diagnose you. And so I looked through it for the criminal addiction. It had to be in there, but it wasn't. But the one thing that was in there was the gambling addiction. That caught my mind, because it was a process addiction. Mm-hmm. It was a behavioral addiction, and it mirrored to a T. It's like the sister addiction to criminality, because you don't have to use drugs to get high off of doing crime. You don't have to use drugs to get high off of gambling. And so guess what was at the front? Was this 9-question diagnostic. It was 9 questions to figure out if you were a problem gambler, whether you were a compulsive gambler, or whether you were an addict, you were addicted to gambling, you had the gambling disorder. And so I reworked the questions with crime and criminality in there. And I asked I presented that question to the 72 men of the dorm, and 64 of them answered yes to all the questions.
Wow.
And I was blown away. My hair was blown back. I'm like, man, we're on to something here, right? This has to be something real.
Yeah.
And I asked the people in the audience, and Zane, you remember came up with the elephant in the room. My mother passed away when I was at county jail, and they came to me, and I said goodbye to her on a phone inside the jail. And so they were worried that I was going to go off when I came back to the block. And so they took me to the psychologist downstairs, and I talked to him and started sharing about the criminal addiction to see what he'd say. And he was like, his eyes were like wide open. Wow. He said, what would your criminal addiction look like? And I said, an elephant. And they've been with me since I've been a child, since I've been young. We believe that the criminal addiction starts when we're young. And it's that elephant in the room. And I asked that same question to those guys that were in the dorm that answered the questionnaire. And one of them raised their hand and said, a 300-pound gorilla. And another person raised their hand and said, Robin Hood. And then there was this one guy that was crying, sobbing. And he looked up and he answered, a room with no windows or doors.
I have a question for you. And I actually agree with you. And this is just from IOP. You said it starts when you're younger, right? Is there a trauma or something? Because for me, I believe that was the case. I feel that being molested, right? It changed me completely. That's when I started stealing lunch money. and I didn't even need it. And I've just put this together in the last year. Okay. Do you think it comes from a trauma or something different happening when you're younger?
Oh, without a doubt. I believe so. I think that a lot of us, many of us have come from broken families, have had, let's just say, trauma. The ACEs question, ACEs survey, surveys basically how we score very high on the ACEs. Most everyone that I see that's a part of Crimanon has scored pretty high on the ACEs score, which just means that they've been through it. They've been through trauma as a youth. And so we now together, we just went into Harmony High School, an at-risk.
We know Dante.
Yeah, Dante's our guy, right? Go Dante, go Harmony High School. Shout out. Yeah, and so we're going back in we're making concerted efforts. Our elders that are in Crimanon, the leaders that we have in Crimanon we're reaching out to the high schools and the middle schools so we can start going in, having speaking panels. Yeah,
I've seen the trend, obviously, with 4D and the getting to the youth in Harmony School, that the sooner we can get to these kids and get them on the right path. And because what we've seen in our show and the episodes that we've done is that childhood, that's where a lot of it starts.
Yeah.
And if you can address that, then we could curb so much of what's happened later.
We just did a podcast on a girl named Ashley, and her mom's name is Megan, but Ashley goes to Harmony School.
Yeah.
Okay, go
and
Ashley.
she
Let's
speaks
go.
for 4D with the state.
Yeah.
And she is brilliant and bright. And
Awesome.
yeah, so I agree. She's going to be so productive, you can tell.
Yeah.
And learning from her mom's addiction and then getting involved in it herself. Those things weren't available to you and I.
Yeah.
We're almost the same age, all three of us.
Right.
All four of us, actually.
Yeah.
And I didn't know no better. I really didn't. I was so stupid.
You know, when we went, I was late to Harmony High School. I was late this last time we went in. And so they had already started. And I was completely, my mouth dropped when I walked into the room, and one of our Crimanon youth, one of the youngsters from our meetings, because their parents go, she was sharing with the other youth.
Wow.
And now she wants to start a youth Crimanon meeting.
A youth
there.
Crimanon.
Yeah.
So you developed, so in prison, I'm just recapping to get my head,
crazy,
but also to help the listeners, you started this think tank, you saw there might be a way to address what you all are going through. And you got together and you went through those steps to figure it out. And then it developed into this program. How did it get from being in prison to being here out in the community?
That's a Zane question.
So Bear was still locked up. I mean, I walked out with.
Yeah, we didn't get out at the same time.
Okay.
I walked out with the steps and the precepts.
Yeah.
And our readings
From the think tank. Yeah.
from the think tank. And I went to 6 or 7 different places to try to get a meeting going, and nobody would open the door for us. They were like,
Really?
criminals? No, we don't want criminals here. The churches? No. So my sister, the last church that said no, my sister said, get in the Jeep.
Yeah. Go Rena.
Yeah. So I went and I got in the Jeep. We drove down to, what is that, Bear? 137th or something right down there.
Yeah,
There's a
off
church
of
down
Stark.
there. And
Not too far from here.
we went in and talked to Pastor Carolyn, and she said, I don't have any room except for a kitchen. You could get it one night a week. She said, I don't know how many people it holds, but you're welcome to it. So I said, man, that would be great. So our first meeting, I think we had 50 people. Second meeting, we had 100.
Wow.
By the third meeting, there was 150 people there. 75 of them standing
In a
outside
kitchen.
trying to hear what we were saying in there.
Wow.
Oh, it was hot in that kitchen.
Oh, it was hot.
Yeah.
And it was
hot.
summertime.
Talk about hot in the kitchen.
But we did have Dunkin' Donuts.
We did. We had all
Yeah,
kinds of
yeah,
stuff.
we had all kinds
had
of
gear
stuff.
already.
Gear,
we had
yeah.
things things just started to happen just like that.
Do you know
Because
how long
people-
it took us to get shirts? Come on now.
Yeah.
You're in gear, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal to have some gear, right?
Yeah,
it
It's
is.
all about the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that is what kept me from going back, because I'd never been out for like more than 30 days at a time. And I was in
You
and
did
out.
life on the installment
I
plan.
did life on the
Yeah.
installment in a couple of different states. And but it saved my life. At the same time, I was helping others.
Yeah.
And it's like from the beginning, I told Barry, he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I just want to help other people so they don't have to go through what I've been through.
Give it away to keep it.
because that is really where my heart is. And it still is.
Thank God for your sister. You remember, tell them about that day, the first day you got out.
Yeah, that was tough. So the very first day I got out, I went to Bridges to Change house. They let me out early on trans leave. And I had a pocket full of money. I got out of prison. I saved a lot of money. I found myself out on the street, walking down the street with a pocket full of money. And I had a girl that I was seeing before I went in. And I thought, I'll go over there. And she dealt drugs. I knew exactly what was going to happen. There was no question about it. And my sister happened to call me up when I was walking down Powell. She said, where are you? I said, I'm just having breakfast. She said, oh, okay. And she started talking to me a little more. And she said, what'd you say? Where are you? I said, I'm walking down Powell. She said, hold it. She said, where are you right now? I said, I'm just about to the bank on the corner of 82nd and Foster. She said, do not move. I don't know how my sister got there so fast, but she did. And she picked me up. And that was the intervention that I needed.
Because otherwise we go back to what we know and who we know. And that's no good.
No.
Yeah.
What she did, she put 5 men's numbers in my phone. She took me to Goodwill. We sat in the parking lot and she said, what do you want to do? You want to go back and spend the rest of your life, or do you want to change? I wanted to change. Really, I did. I just didn't know how, right? I've been in prison over 20 years and I know prison and I know what to do when I get out. Because Oregon, where I come from here, that you get out, they give you a bus ticket to get to your PO. That's what they give you. They didn't give me anything else. They never gave me anything else. And of course I went back to what I knew, because I don't like to not have money and not have food and not have a place to live, right? So I would go right back to what I knew.
You're preaching to the choir. Not only that, without housing, and it's hard to get a job.
Yeah.
This year, at 20, almost 8 years sober, right? I wanted to leave the company I was with. It was extremely stressful and it just was a lot. I'm not allowed to talk about it. But anyway, I found another job, right? A good job, about 80,000. I had a signed contract. I went and met my employees at a luncheon, okay? And they did a background check, and my 31-year-old never went back to prison. Crime came up and they rescinded their offer. And at the time, I run a company. And I was like, is this really happening to me? And it's like, how long is something going to get you? Like, I have been doing the right thing for a very long time. And that destroyed my confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with that. When I got out, I couldn't find it. I went to it. Everybody that I was staying at Bridges Change, they went to a day place where you could work, right? You could get a job.
Dave's Killer Bread?
No, just it was a day you go there and they give you a job for the day. You go there and get out and you get paid.
I know what you're talking about, like Express Personnel or something like that.
They would not even hire me because they couldn't bond me. I have 57 felonies. And they said, I'm sorry, sir, we can't. So I've been fortunate. So I built houses when I was younger with my stepdad. And I'm very good at the construction skills. I have a lot of skills. There's not much I can't do.
It's okay. Don't worry. We have editing.
And back to somebody that I used to work for before I went to prison the last time. And I just said, hey, I'm trying to change my life. Would you please give me a chance? Because nobody else would. Nobody. And he said he'd talk to his wife, because I didn't do anything to them directly. When you don't show up for work and you do this and you do that, and then you leave the company, and it costs them money, right? They let me come back. Now I run the company pretty much, the foreman of the crew. I go out. Sometimes when my boss is out of town, I'll bid the jobs, or I'm in contact with them, but they don't come out to the jobs hardly ever anymore. They don't do that. They trust me. But I went to try to get another job. So we were talking earlier about how much it costs. You get out of prison, you get a job, you don't make a lot of money when you're used to having a lot of money. So I met this wonderful lady. I married her. I have a 4.5-year-old daughter, and she has 2 kids. So I have a house. I have 3 kids and then my wife. And the Oregon Department of Revenue started garnishing my wages, 25%. That's $1,200 a month.
Wow.
That was my car payment, my truck payment, and the insurance.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I don't have enough money to pay the bills, right? I just paid off $28,000, but for the last 2.5 years, we have struggled. I can't tell you, there's been many times I've had to call Bear for money for food for my family. And I'm not like that. If I'm supporting you, I want to be able to pay for food and your housing. Those are my kids, right?
Yeah.
My wife.
Yeah.
And so I've been through a lot of struggles. I was just in a car accident 10 weeks ago, and I haven't worked since then. I have 9 bulging discs in my back and neck, and I can't work, right? And so I'm going through it right now. And it's so easy for me to think about, hey, you know what to do. In the back of my mind, he's always tapping me and saying, you know what to do. You know how to get money.
Yeah.
But I keep remembering this. For one, my daughter, she is just, I'll tell you, she's something else. God's gift. God gifted me to her. You aren't 55 years old and have a kid every day. You know what I'm saying? So he gifted me that child, and she's my only child. And so I keep her face right at my head all the time. A little cute redhead with long curls. She's just an angel. But sometimes when I don't have food in the house or gas for my wife to get to work, things really, they come back. They flood my mind. So it's just like alcohol or drugs. When tough times come up, what do? Addicts, we think about those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know this, I can't do the rest of my life in prison because I have my daughter and she counts on me and I love her and she's a daddy's girl and I couldn't imagine living without her or living without me.
The impact on a child.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to tell you, I understand. And
Well, I see the parallels for sure with our own. I'm in the AA group. The same thing. Those same things that can trigger those old behaviors, and it'd be so much more easier for me to grab that bottle and just disappear than face whatever it is.
I told Peter yesterday. I came over and my company restructured, and it was a blessing for me because I wanted to leave anyway. I had gone and gotten a job, but they gave me money to leave. And now I've been on unemployment, and my unemployment is close to running out. And I've tried to go in the recovery field, right? Why not? I got my CRM and then my CADCR, but the pay is nonprofit is lower pay. And then to go to where I've had the job, right? It's a lot of stress running a company, and I really don't want no part of that at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm worried about money. Peter and I were talking about funding for the podcast, and I was getting a resentment. I said, Peter, I'm worried about my funding, let alone the podcast. But I will tell you, one thing I've learned in recovery and doing the right thing, I'm part of the No Matter What Club. And my daughter was 2 when I was in prison. She's 32, and she's never seen me on a drug or go back. And that means everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's going to work out. So I might have to go through, I'm 4 weeks from getting food stamps. And but I'm not going to be selling them if I get them right to get drugs.
Right.
But it is hard, and it hurts your ego.
Mm.
It hurts your ego. And when we decided to do this, Peter comes from a corporate world. I come from a corporate world, and I've been blessed. I don't know if you remember the Mallory Hotel downtown, but I folded towels in the basement when I got out of prison. I had to go to the transition out of prison program at the Y. And to do that and then come up in the ranks and work my ass off to get there, and then to be jobless and worrying about money. So yesterday I said to him, I have a plan. And he was like, what? I was like, I could sell drugs because I have all the medications that they've given me. I have trigeminal neuralgia. They've given me gabapentin and not oxycodone, but oxy something. And I said, I figured these are worth a lot of money, at least a month's rent. But when I was like, I thought about prostitution, but I'm a little old for that now. But the crazy shit does go through your mind.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. You bet.
So how has the meeting Crimanon played into your
I'll tell
life?
you, I have worked when I'm not at my normal job, I'm working. I'm working somewhere because like I say, I need to support my family. And I like to be able to go out to eat once a week or once every 2 weeks with my family, we did that, as a kid. And that was our special time, our only special time.
I like tacos on Tuesday, my man.
And so I try to do some things like that for my family. So I work nonstop. So I don't make as many meetings as I should, but I make enough to make sure that I'm okay. And of course, I got Bear on the phone 24/7. When I need him, he's there.
I love it.
And vice versa. Now, I don't have funding, but Bear's been very generous to me and my family. When he got out, he came and lived with us for a year and a half, I think it was. And so,
Been there for each other.
right.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Peter said I can live in the camper.
I did.
I'm just saying. He said I could live in the camper.
Camper is nice.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just saying. He's like, it's a little small, but if you get desperate.
That is the cool thing about what I call my extended family, which is my group.
Mhm.
And it sounds like Crimanon's same thing for you.
Yeah,
Your extended
absolutely.
family is we're
Absolutely.
there for each other. We support each other,
Mhm.
and we don't have to go back out to what we
We
did
know.
before.
Mhm.
And we could have that peace of mind that we'll survive because we have our group. We've got our
Right.
people. I love that. And I
Yeah,
also
it's a
love
good
how you
family.
said, I don't go to as many meetings maybe as I should, but recovery, what we've learned, if anything, is that it's different for everybody.
Yes, it
And
is.
some people need to go twice a day. Some people
Yeah.
need to go once every 6 months. I don't know anybody actually who does that,
Right.
but there are different levels
There
people
is.
have to they're
Yeah.
comfortable with. And if that works for you, no judgment. Not
Right.
everybody wears a size 7 shoe.
Right.
Yeah, I go to a lot of meetings. I think I would say my brain works overtime. I think I have that addict brain. I can be addicted to tennis shoes. Yeah. And I was at one point. I made a lot of money. So I bought Air Force Ones in every color to match every shirt and just stupid
Okay, all
stuff.
right.
And I will tell you, like, in the escort service, I like to get my nails done and stuff like that. So I've been a kind of little bougie and living up to that lifestyle in a different way. But I go to a lot of meetings just to rest my brain, especially
very
when I'm
restful.
stressed. And your program has been suggested to me a few times.
Yeah, you're welcome to come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah.
We're not, I must say, I've been to a lot of meetings in my day. It's really not like a meeting for me. It's more like a time I share with my family. That,
Mhm.
and you know what I like about it is I don't ever see any drama with our members.
So
It's-
principles before personalities.
Yeah. And it's different in the other rooms for me. I've had a lot of struggles in the other rooms. Probably maybe because I have a sister who's ahead of me. She has quite a few years. I'm well known only because of her in those fellowships. And I don't want to be somebody's, that the protege or follow in their footsteps or whatever. Because like you said earlier, we're all different. We all learn
Amen.
our own ways. I know what I need, right? Nobody else knows what I need, but I do. And I know that I have to support my family. And I know that I have to, Crimanon is a huge part of my life. I think about it nonstop all day. I want it to move forward. I want us to, when I was in prison, I wrote down goals that I had before I got out. I surpassed those goals 3 months after I got out. And these were supposed to be 10-year goals, right?
Yeah.
And I should have went a little farther. Probably done 25 years.
You're doing
Yeah.
it now, though. The fact that you said, for me, this is amazing, right? The
Mhm.
fact that you had 50 people show up at a fucking kitchen, and we can swear, we can say whatever we want. There's no rules on the podcast, and I like to swear. But the fact that you had 50 people show up in a kitchen shows a lot right there. It shows what a need for it. Because I don't know any AA or NA meetings that start out with 50 fucking people. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
They might get there, but not that start out with it. And I also think Peter says this often. You have to find a meeting that's right for you.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, coming out of prison from the escort service, a gay men's meeting was perfect. They didn't want to sleep with me. I didn't want to sleep with them. So there was no controversy on my primary purpose,
Right.
which was to get off fucking parole and stay sober. And it sounds to me like that was your goals as well, just through a different venue.
Yep.
Yeah, you've seen that our meetings started pretty humbly in that kitchen, and this is before COVID, and so we almost had a meeting once a day of every day of the week that you could go to a Crimanon meeting. We wanted to have that, and we spread them across the Tri-County, and then COVID hit, and then we were on Zoom a lot.
Us too.
Yeah.
So we were Zooming our butts off for a long time. And even today, when we came back for in-person meetings, we're just now starting to possibly get one of our meetings on Zoom again to have that Zoom kind of facet to it. But some people in our last night, we had it, and it was a real learning for me. But one of our members didn't want to be on Zoom. I had an aversion to it. We're going to talk, and maybe we'll make one meeting, maybe Thursday night at a Zoom meeting, so that it's one of our Native brothers. And so the Native community has just really took hold in Crimanon. We're in the NARA Treatment Center on Monday night, so we take a meeting into there.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And so we started saying, where could we make bridges for our people? Where are the crimin addicts at? Zane, we always laugh that some of our elders say that the drug addict hides out in AA. And then the crimin addict hides out in NA. And so we're always reaching right out to NA because we have potential members in there that need to see that co-occurring stuff's going on. And you can imagine being the new young fellowship on the block, right?
It's a dog's food.
The young fellowship on the block. There are some, who are these? What is this fellowship? And a lot of
and
people that haven't got to get to know us yet. And so we welcome them. We love our sister fellowships. We wear our Crimanon gear and go to NA meetings and AA meetings, and we welcome them to come to our meeting. And it's because we're just about the human beings.
It's a village.
Yeah, this is about recovery from addiction. And we have so much more in common than just, you had to have done a crime to be in Crimanon. No, we're here for the human being. We're here for recovery.
Yeah.
And that recovery is, for us, is the cultivation of human values. So a lot of our steps are invitations to doing that. And so we're a pretty busy fellowship. We have events throughout the year. We have a big camp out in the summer. Last weekend in July, we're in Philomath on the Marys River on 500 acres of pristine property. We have a gear drive that's going to be coming up here in a few weeks. We've filled up half of a 14-foot box truck, and we're going to go out and hand supplies out because the winter storms, it's beautiful weather, by the way, now, but winter storms happen here. And so people lose a lot of their stuff. And we take our children and our youth with us so that they can see human values firsthand,
fantastic.
so that they can see kindness, right? And so we talk about patience and loving kindness and tolerance and mercy. Like, those are values that we talk about openly in our meetings, and that we're trying to move towards them. Think of the person that grew up in the addicted household that had criminality going on. They were in survival mode most of the time. They didn't have time to practice human values. And you don't really have a lot of time to practice human values in prison.
Right.
You're trying to survive in prison. And so many of us in our lives, even though we're adults or halfway older, mature adults, haven't had a bunch of time to practice human values, which gives us peace. Because the true meaning in our lives is attached to other people. And so we really promote that, and we promote it through our events. We have a clothing closet that we started. We partnered with other nonprofit in it, Inside Alliance, and we've helped clothe the homeless. Those are our people in those tents. Yeah, and so we reach out to them.
I love that. That aspect, that community outreach. I love
that's what we're all about. Yeah.
And I think it's like a lot of programs, right? We talk about this all the time, and that is a foundation. You're providing someone who comes out of prison that has criminal behavior with a foundation to do right. AA was my foundation. For me, I didn't trust one person when I got out of prison. I'm glad you had him and he had you and stuff like that. I trusted no one. And it took me a while to get there. It took me a while to trust other people.
Do you have do you take meetings in, or are there organized meetings within the prison system?
I love that you asked that. We're heading towards that. I just reached out to Mr. Hanley over at Columbia River, and you have to have 5 years out in order to go back in. And we just breached that 5-year mark. So both of us are eligible to go back in now. So we're going to fill out our applications and bring Crimanon back into. You got to remember, we started the first meeting in Columbia River, and then when COVID happened, they stopped all of the programs, and they're very slow. Everything happens with this slow ticking clock in DOC.
Peter wants it all now.
I'm so impatient.
So we're heading back in, brother. We're going to head back in.
That's fantastic.
We really partner with Fora Health. We take a meeting, a men's meeting and a women's meeting on Friday nights. Tonight, we're at the URS Club on 172nd and Stark.
I love Fora.
And then last night, we were at the Miracles Club at 7:30 on every Wednesday night. That's down on MLK.
Okay.
And that's an African American Recovery Club. And
I went there.
Yeah, you look at a Crimanon meeting at our demographic, like when you look out, it's a very colorful meeting. We have people of all color. It's our way. We believe in equity and equality. And we're really...
The addiction doesn't take color into mind by no means.
It doesn't take into
anything.
Rich, poor, your social status. I went to a Catholic school. I didn't want for clothes and stuff like that or anything. Like I said, I didn't need lunch money that I stole. It just was something to get away with, I think.
That's exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's that thrill of getting away with it, that thrill of thinking about it, the planning, the following through with it, and then the payoff. Those are all things that we're addicted to. And that's why when Bear says it's a process addiction, it really is.
It is.
It's because just the planning of it, coming up within your mind, putting it on paper or putting it into action, and then actually doing it. All that is a process, and a process that
addictive.
I think that's amazing, because I think when you are successful, right, with money, then I became even more creative, like using the cab drivers to take credit cards and write them off as a tour of Portland. And really, you're getting a piece of ass and you can write it off on your tax or your business expenses. And I thought I was fucking brilliant.
Oh, people, the people with criminal addictions, that's one thing about them. Yeah. We are creative.
And smart.
We are. Smart. I mean, I got to say, some of the things that I did and got away with, amazing. I look back and I think, how did I think of that? How did I do that?
I should probably still be in prison. I can't even be mad the time I did compared to what I should have done.
I would never be. They would have already locked me away for life.
Funny when you look up I don't know if have you ever looked up your name or Google to see what pops up?
There. I'm so happy.
Oh, you're so happy. So everyone secretly looks up their own name. And so it's like our past, and we were unfortunately in the news and on TV and different things. And so I was very happy recently when I looked. And so I think it was the fourth or fifth thing down on the list, because most of the first, second, and third are all the stuff we've been doing with Crimanon.
Yeah.
We just were featured right in the Oregonian on December 8th.
It's Sunday,
December 8th, and the Sunday Oregonian on the front page, man. Come on, that's a bucket list.
Pages. That's awesome. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
We're hoping for that, huh, Peter? Someday.
When I had my name out there for all my wrongdoings, because I'm a techie, I knew how to put websites up and how to do the SEO so that my name disappeared. And I came up with these, my personal site and this site.
I'll have to talk to you after the podcast. No, I'm just
it worked really well. It took a little time, but not as long as and everything's gone.
I must say, I think there's more on Google now positive about Crimanon than there is about my negative. And before it was a page, 3 or 4 pages.
Is Crimanon just here, or is there a movement national?
It is. You could consider us a worldwide movement. Our mothership, we call it CA World Services, just like they have A World Services, because we believe that eventually we'll be in all the countries. But right now we've been concentrating on Oregon. We've had chapters in Washington. What happens is, it's really cool, is that elders, after you have 3 months clean, sober, and crime-free, you can apply to become an elder, and then elders stick around and become grand elders, right? That help run Crimanon. But what happens is they move. And all of a sudden, we have a sister who's moving down to California. Well, guess what? She'll secretary a meeting down there, and she'll plant the flag, right, for Crim. We have my son, he's out in Newport. He's a fisherman, and so it's not too far from Philomath. There's a chapter that's alive and well in Newport.
That's so cool.
Medford. We just started a new chapter in Medford. I was down there. I got invited down to California, to Wairika. A gallery featured my artwork. It's
where you were last week, right?
Yeah, it's an art gallery that's like really friendly with ex-felons and their artwork, and so they feature it. But it was just a beautiful gallery, and I got to present the story of Crimanon. Of course, Zane, he seeps into the story because there's no other way to get around him, right? He's always with me, right, no matter where I go. So I carried him, and I'll be sharing that. Yeah, there's a video, so we're going to try to put that on our website. Maybe you can help me.
Sure.
But yeah, of that presentation. But I sold a couple of art pieces. It was all good. Yeah. So what things we get to do in recovery today?
Yeah.
Are absolutely mind-blowing.
So we heard a little bit about Zane and his world outside of Crimanon. What do you do? You're an artist, or is that your main thing? Or
I have a little advertising business called Mini Flyers. So they're little quarter-page colored flyers, and we have these recovery malls, resource malls that are all around the Tri-County. So we have 35 resource malls, like basically displays that we put the mini flyers in. So we advertise recovery housing, second chance employment, and recovery services.
That's awesome.
And so that's my little side gig. And then I work with brothers that have serious persistent mental health and that also have a criminality piece to them. And so I manage a house. I live with 5 brothers that are trying to get stable. They're coming out of the state hospital. They're coming out from jail. And
Sounds
we
like
help.
a tough job.
It's a very rewarding job. It is tough sometimes. I got to hold space with them where they're at. I always share with Zane all of my challenges that go on. One night, my brother was slamming the cookie sheet on the table in the kitchen, but he was trying to get rid of the voices that he was hearing. But when you first hear him slamming in the middle of the night, a cookie sheet, you want to get out, you're crawling out of your skin.
Yeah.
And you run into the kitchen wondering what's going on, right? And then I slammed the cookie sheet with him a couple of times and helped him get rid of them. And we stood my whole space with him. It's amazing. It's a real thing. I work with Transcending Hope. They're a nonprofit here in the Tri-County that are doing great work with, it's called Community Restoration Program. So it's for a mental health court that the brothers are involved in. And so I work with them on a daily basis. And I have 2 cats. Little Mo was actually born at Zane's house, underneath his house. So there's always this stories of connection. There's Zane again.
There he is.
I love
Can't get rid of him.
Even on when you said it's in Oregon and it's branching out, it's the same with Peter and I. We started our recovery stories in Oregon, and they have seemed to branch out. And we became a new nonprofit, right? And we'll get there. That's my hope and belief, is because we've been so consistent and bringing so many different forms of recovery, sobriety, just everything that I think we'll get there as well. And the podcast goes everywhere. It's easier because it's a podcast, but I think that this is a great foundation that you guys have. Oh my God.
Yeah. I've thought about it, and there's no reason why this should not be worldwide.
Yeah.
Because this is what I know from my own experience. It works.
Happens everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's true. And everything that we talk about in our meetings and our steps and our precepts, if you have ever stole something or you've become even the slightest bit of a criminal, you know exactly what we're talking about, and you're right on board with us. That's just how I've seen it, because people come into our fellowship and they say, this is what I've been missing. This is the piece I've been missing. Yeah. Just like me, I went through treatment. I went through drug treatment. I went through alcohol. I was an alcoholic at the age of 10, a drug addict by the age of 11. And no, it's okay. And I miss something every time. I would just go from those treatment centers right back to getting loaded and stealing. When I finally found out the piece I was missing, now, like we said earlier, it doesn't work for everybody, but I don't go to AA no more. The piece I really needed, because like I said earlier, I have a conscience. And if I'm not stealing, if I don't need to steal, the drugs aren't so important. I use the drugs so that I could go steal, because I was brought up better than that.
Same.
Yeah.
So I just know this, that from my heart, I feel that this program will change your life, because I was the bottom of the barrel. I did 21 and a half years. I wasn't out for more than 30, 40 days when I was right back in. Constant cycle of 21 years. Yeah. That's all I knew. But it changed my life. It changed my life. And if I could change, I know anyone can, because I was hopeless.
You're the top of the barrel now.
Right, like that.
They say if you help one person and you've changed one person's life.
Well, I love what you're saying too, because it's talking about that bridge that has been missing.
Yeah.
We've tried to throw money at treatment centers, and that's where people, first it's incarceration, then it's treatment centers. And maybe there's some job help out there, but there's no bridges between any of them.
Right.
And that's what these meetings, what we found, talking to all different types of recovery, having a place to go where people are like you, understand. They're like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
And that's what you need.
Yeah.
The connection.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And like you said about the dual diagnosis,
talking about
you might need both.
Absolutely.
I wasn't diagnosed until later on with PSDC complex.
Right.
It wasn't until fucking later on, right, that I had all these memories come up. And just like you, I had a conscience.
Right.
I never did an escort call unless I was high. Okay. It never crossed my fucking mind since. Not one time.
Right.
Yeah. It just ever. Right. I just didn't want to. I just wanted my own money so I could buy the drugs I wanted, and then got wrapped up in the money.
Yeah. However, it becomes an addiction, it becomes seeded as a compulsion, or starts out as a problem. However it ends up, it becomes its own thing. I would say, like, my criminality and my addiction are best friends. They'll hold hands with you, and they will walk down the street of sorrows every day. And it's
That's a really good way to say it.
It's a sad thing. I remember with shoplifting, right? You think about criminality, how many different skill sets are there with the criminal addiction? You have your shoplifters. There's a complete skill set that goes along with that. You have, let's just say, the
entertainment field is what I prefer.
The entertainment field has its own skill sets, what you do, right? And the creativeness to do it. Same with the burglars, right? Same with people that do paper
stealers,
crime.
Yeah.
Same with auto theft, drug dealers. And you can imagine all the different skills. How many skill sets does it take to drink alcohol? Not many. To use drugs, maybe there's a few. But the criminal addiction, there is a lot of different skill sets. And so it starts to affect your self-image. And you
Although
think
I was
you're this
pretty
survivor.
crafty at hiding my booze and pretending to be something.
Right.
But when you go to prison,
That's a skill set. That's a skill set. Yeah. That's a skill set.
Prison, you'll learn a couple others. What you didn't know.
There's all kinds.
I shit my pants. For real, I was like, you did what?
Oh, geez.
We learn from one another.
Yeah.
They tell, I got to admit it. Some of the things that these guys talked about, I actually got them tried because it sounded so easy.
Yeah. No, I hear it often said that, if the criminal mind could put that to good use, look at how successful they could be. So it's just what you're saying. There's all those skills.
You're not trying. You're doing.
Right. And we really want the criminal addiction one day to be next to the gambling addiction in the DSM. So that criminality can be diagnosed, a criminality disorder can be diagnosed, and then federal monies will be released to help treat it. And maybe we'll see the first primary addiction of criminality, a treatment center, right, in this country, and we're gonna be a part of that.
That would be so fantastic.
Well,
I love it. Yeah,
like drug treatment, right? When you're talking about this, and I couldn't agree with you more, right? I think there's a package deal. You have to teach them a job. Like you were lucky, you knew construction, right? But you got to have a job to get a place. The people on the street, sometimes it's their choice, and sometimes they just can't get to where they need to go. And I think it needs to be a package deal, which is what they're finally going from treatment to housing, then to a job. But you can't just send somebody through treatment and then send them on their way, because what happens is you just go back to what you know. There's a few exceptions to that. I had to take a polygraph test, so I couldn't lie even. So I understand.
So that's one of the things that we talked about in the beginning of Crimanon too. We want to bridge the gap for men coming out of prison and women, that they don't have to go right back to what they know. That was one of our goals. We want to bridge the gap. So what we do, we have our meetings, which bridges the gap this much. But if we had housing and support to support people where they are at, what they need, which is housing, of course, jobs. And I know from Iron Tribe that when Bear started that, he did that. He had housing for people. He was tied in with people for employment. He helped a lot of people. And
it's a package deal.
It's a package deal.
We do that, and you know, can you imagine all of our elders? Many of them work in the field, and we're in the movement ourselves. And then many are. How many Crimanon members has he taken and given jobs to? He's connected people to jobs. Mm-hmm. So there's all these resources in that room. Then we're having that meeting. That if someone reaches out and they're struggling and they need help with housing, bam, we're there. We know the different streams of funding to get them housed, even if they're coming off of homelessness, especially with Measure 110 and the Burn Grant. We have connections to other organizations. And so really there's this super resource center in the middle of a Crimanon meeting as well. They come in there and all of a sudden they feel connection to a community of belonging and encouragement. Mm-hmm. And once you feel understood and you're getting encouraged, can you imagine? And they start to model the beliefs and the goals of the group, which is about it. Yeah. And then they get helped. And then you start seeing them get their jobs. And then you see them get in their car. And then you see them becoming in the movement. And then you see them helping others. Yeah. And that full circle, we've been so blessed to see that full circle happen within our fellowship.
That's
and what an honor to be a part of it.
Well, and look at Bo.
Is it similar to, because I've never been to a Crimanon meeting, so is it similar to other meetings where you have like your milestones, like you get your coins and
we have clarity bracelets that say live crime free and different and say Crimanon, different colors, white for just for today. Then we have the 30, 60, 90. And so they celebrate crime free time, right?
I need to go to one of those and get my bracelets.
If you collect all the colors, they're worth a lot on eBay. and they'll block bullets.
Block handcuffs is what they block.
Yeah, they block the handcuffs. We've had members say, man, they were about to shoplift, get some of that mascara that's $15. They can't believe paying that much for it. And they looked down and there was the bracelet. And they couldn't grab it off the shelf. We've heard a lot of cool stories about the bracelets being effective.
There's definitely something to that. I know it just from the program that I'm in and how that you definitely, after you get, I'm going on 8 years. I don't want to ruin all that time. So it helps. It's part of the total program.
Yeah. And it's not in your pocket. It's on your wrist. What I like about it too is people ask about it. Mm-hmm. So this is the first tattoo because I got out first. Bear, he got.
That's pretty cool.
But people ask about it all the time. I wear my hat. I wear my hoodies. I wear my shirts, just like you. Yeah. And everywhere I go, people are like, Crimanon, what's Crimanon? Yeah, so it gives us an opportunity to share with the people out there on the street.
You mentioned, just so you know, more and more. Seriously, I hear about it all the time now compared to before, where it just came up. In the last 6 months, I've heard about it. Like, never heard of it until Bo was here. Okay. Yeah. And then Patty said, I can hook you up with Zane. No, and then it went to John Morgan goes to one of your meetings. Mm-hmm. It just, it's growing. Let me tell you guys, it really is. Yeah.
That's cool.
And what I also like about, I love the fact that it's a visible thing that and one of the things that we hope to do is with our show is to remove the stigmatism that's attached to people in recovery. And in what you're doing with Crimanon, same thing. Why hide behind that anonymity?
Right.
And I know there's situations and work and whatever, but I believe that if more of us can show our faces and say, hey, look, I was there and look at me now. You can and give hope to others.
That's what it's all about, right? Giving hope, because people who knew me from my past don't even recognize me physically.
And you have great skin.
And
I'm just saying, right here and stuff. Prison time did you good because you're not all sucked up and
If you go on Google and you see the picture, you'll be like, "That's not him. That's not him." Because really, it doesn't even look like me. I feel like this. I've got 7 years, and Bear's right behind me. 1 year exactly. We're almost 1 year apart, right? And it's really funny because he's a week before me, though, but a year difference. And
You have 8 years now.
8 years.
Yeah.
See? That's
You're
what
missing
happens
a
when
year,
the years
brother.
go by,
Yeah,
right?
You're missing
They
that
just go
year.
by.
I just celebrated 7. He's got 8.
It's my favorite number.
I can count his time
I
all the time
noticed your
for him.
phone
Yeah, he
number.
does.
Yeah.
Because I get so busy.
All
I
the
lose track of
sevens?
time.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
mine ends in 7774,
Oh,
and your
nice.
ends in 7777.
Yeah.
And when I saw your phone number, I was like, "Holy shit!" Because mine is very close to my social security number, and the last 4 has 3 sevens too.
Wow.
Right.
And when I saw that, I was like, "No, yeah!" I thought it
Yeah.
was like the
That's
coolest.
cool.
Yeah,
Little
very
numerology
cool.
there.
So I
yeah.
wanted to say something about.
I'm sorry. Can you just pull your mic a little bit over?
I can go over a little
Perfect.
too.
Quit
Thank you.
slacking.
Yeah, I was trying to
You're
Yeah,
sliding
that's
over
right.
further.
No.
You were talking earlier, and I think that's one of the biggest things. So part of my story is,
I'm right there with you.
okay, so I lost my son to SIDS, and it's been 24 years now. Me and him are home alone. That's when my addiction really went full blower. I went to the cliff and I didn't care. I jumped. What I did is I chased the bag, trying to find a drug that would numb my heart enough to, I didn't have to feel anymore. There was no drug that strong. I went through a lot of hell, I'm going to say. That was a dark time for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I still struggle with some of that, but I had this counselor at Columbia River. She told me, she said, "I want you to write a letter to your son." I said, "Lady, this is after 21 years. I said, "I did that." I said, "It didn't do nothing for me." She said, "Okay." She said, "Now I want you to write a letter back what your son would say to you right now." That changed my life because the first thing that he said was, "Dad, it wasn't your fault," because I carried that with me for 21 years.
Mm-hmm.
And SIDS is something that it wasn't my fault.
There's
Right.
no explanation.
There's no explanation.
Yeah.
But when you're home alone with your child and he dies in your care, who else are you going to blame? That's how I felt. And that's why my daughter is so important to me, that God gifted her to me.
He did, because you
Yeah.
know what? Shit doesn't happen by accident.
No, absolutely
and
not.
to
And I
have
see him in her every day. He was a little redhead too, but he was only 2 months, 6 days old.
Did you used to have red hair?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When you had hair, did you have red hair?
But she came 10 weeks early. She had
I was there.
Yeah, she was autistic. My wife, so I'll just tell you real quick, she never did drugs. She's never been in trouble. She's a normie, and I love her more than anything, right? Because that's what I need in my life, right? I need that. That way I don't have to worry about any of that with her, right?
Amen.
She just looks over after me. But she's a diabetic, and my daughter, they had to take her 10 weeks early because my wife was having complications. And so when she came out, she wasn't breathing. And what I've been through, if Bear wouldn't have been there and held me down, it would have been all bad. That's all I know. I had some people there that cared about me enough to not let me run. And so today she is autistic. She's in a special school. She still doesn't talk, very little. She says, "Mommy and Daddy," and she says, "I love you, Daddy." And the important things to me. She tells me the things that I want to hear. And she's getting better. She doesn't say a sentence yet, but she's getting there.
She was.
And she
And
loves her Uncle Bear.
Oh, yeah, she does. She never got married for the first 2 years. She wouldn't even talk to him and hide from him. He was big, scared her, I'm sure. And I used to tell her, "Honey, it's okay. He's just
That's
a
why
big
his
love."
name is Bear.
Now she's got this teddy bear at home that I just got her for Christmas, and she calls him Bear. It's special. She's really special. But the point I was trying to get at was, until I was able to deal with that trauma that was holding me, that had a hold of me, I couldn't get it. I couldn't move past all the thoughts and the stuff that I had going on in my head every day. And until that counselor, Miss O was her name, God bless her, she changed my life.
Yeah.
She really did. That one thing that she told me to do, it changed my life, because I then at that point realized it really wasn't my fault. For 27 years, I carried that burden on my shoulders that it was my fault. I did something, but I didn't.
So it all fell into place, right?
It all
And
fell
that
into
happened.
place. It was like the time and the
Crim
place
happened.
and everything that happened. But that was a struggle because the way I was brought up, like I said, I was alcoholic by the age of 10. My parents were both alcoholics and drug addicts, and things were rough. I had 2 older brothers and a little sister at home, and things were they weren't like, I didn't even know what family life was like until 5, 6, 7 years ago when I met my wife. And now today I feel like I have a pretty, not normal, because what is normal, right? But what society would consider healthy.
Loving. Yeah.
At my house, when we sit down and eat dinner, we all love one another. We take care. I do my best to take care of them. My wife has a property management company that she's part owner in. And it's ever since COVID, it's just went like this. And she's getting less and less all the time, you know, and that means I work more. I need to work more and more. That's how I feel.
Right.
Because the way the COVID was and the housing, and people just started taking their homes back and not renting them and all this. And so they're really struggling as well. And it makes it tough. Money is the root of all evil, but you have to have it in order to live, right?
Yeah.
And so I try not to, I'm a worrywart. That's why I work so much. So I worry about every little thing. I'm thinking today about something that's going to be 3 months from now because that's just how I am. But
So I'm going to tell you something about that.
I got to remember, I got to live in the moment.
Yeah.
And I got to stay right here with my feet planted where they are, because today there's a house that the kids have a roof over their heads.
You got a big gulp?
I got a big gulp.
You got a bear?
I got a job still. The company that I work for, it's really a blessing. Not many people would give me that chance. They're all in the family is the name of the company. And it's because
I love that.
the property management company that my wife is part owner, is also owner of the construction company that I work for, her husband and her partner. So it is all the family. We're all the family. All the supervisors and owners are me, my wife, him and his wife, right? Yeah. And so I'm just a peon. I'm not part of any company, but I run the company. And so they're really good people.
Bo used to work with
and Bo worked at the office with my wife for a long time.
Bo Oregon Recovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I
get the plug in there.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to tell you 2 things. Okay. I've been the most worried person ever until just recently when I went to IOP. And then with all this change and for the first time not having a job. But I have to tell you, every day I'm like, what can I just do for today? What is the action or the footwork I can take for today? And this is for anybody out there with any addiction. I can't change the past. I can't change it no matter what.
No matter what.
And I don't know what the future is for me. And it's the hardest thing I do is staying in today. Today it is, I can apply for a job that I want this morning, talk with my sponsor, do the podcast, right? I usually go to an extended family meeting. We're lucky. Our meeting is in person and online, and it's twice a day, 7 days a week.
Nice.
So I stay freaking connected, and that calms me down from worrying. I used to worry all night to where I couldn't sleep. What is the 75 things I got to do for my company and payroll? And am I going to do this? And I have a one-on-one and I have to write up so-and-so to where I couldn't sleep. And now I'm in a much better space, but I'm going to tell you, it took me a long time to get there. And the trauma thing, like you said, I wrote the letters just recently. I was so upset with my mom. Because what parents just dump you off at the nannies from 6 months to 11 years old? And I was molested during that time. And I didn't talk about it until I was 56 years old. I just suppressed it and whatnot. I've had a couple hoo-hoos in the last 6 months. I called Peter freaking out about a news story. One of my clients from the escort service was on the news, and I hadn't dealt with any client. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was instantly mad and whatnot. But staying in today is a huge challenge. And I will tell you, it's the best thing you can do as far as calming your brain. because I could get lost in what do we got to do for the podcast, the funding.
It's one of my downfalls too, is the future tripping and the ruminating on the past.
One of our steps is about that. We made an intention to put our attention not from the past to the future, but by placing it in the present moment. And the power of now.
Yeah.
We was at
That's
Eckhart
everything.
Tolle. It's real cool. Like our steps have guides and teachers behind them that have like different books they've written. And so our steps are cool. You can work our step, but you also have a suggested reading list that goes along
That's cool.
with our steps. Yeah.
I'm going
That's
to
where
get this stuff,
okay,
just so you know.
If you go onto our website at www.crimanon.org.
Thank you for that, because I wanted
there's a little Crimanon plug, right? But it's Crimanon, not INON. If you do INON, it'll take you to some church's program that's a little bit, I forget the name of it. Anyway, Google that one too. You can check it out. It's cool. But ours is ANON. But you can go to the literature tab. There's a little section there, and there's the Bear Den. I like to write as well, so I have some different pieces. And I wrote on the definition, on our definition of anonymity, right? The meaning of anonymity, and so the definition of anonymity is highest at our meetings. But what do you do when something's changed your life and you want to tell someone about it, or you want to wear the gear, right? And then all of a sudden you're connected to it, right? And it almost gives you this protection, right? And of course, it's a funny story where we had just started making our gear, and we made the Crimanon badge. If you see our the Crimanon badge that's on the top of our hats.
I love it.
Yeah, a brother that was in Coffee Creek created that with little tiny pens that they gave him, the rubber ones, so you can't stab anybody with them.
Gosh.
He created that design on a page.
Are those your colors?
And the circle. No, we have all different kinds of colors. Yeah. People like wearing what they like. But
Peter likes red and black. So do I.
We can give you red and black hoodies, right?
I know. I love it.
Yeah, black with red, right? Vinyl. But we're going to crank back up making our own gear. Stay tuned, right?
For everyone listening, your link will be on the website, and we'll also put you in our resource area.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I added you yet or not, but
So
it'll
they'll
be
be
there.
able to go straight to your website.
Help me put this podcast on our website.
We'll do it all.
Sure. Yeah.
You can help me do that, and then I'm sure we'll be working with each other on some other projects.
I like
also.
that it's all in colors. I'm sure Skylar Ray.
Yeah. I love Skylar.
Yeah. And the We Do Recover. He's done it in rainbows. He's done it in ever. I actually love that brand because it's so simple. That is my man. I freaking love him.
He used to work at a call center, and I got a part-time job when I first got out, and I was only there for a week or two, but and then he says, man, I got CDs out. Skylar was like a supervisor there, making good money, and then his music took off, right? And his girl, a beautiful voice. So make sure you listen to Skylar Ray, man. Get one of his CDs.
Yeah, we love him. He's been on our podcast.
We put his music out all the time.
Shout out to Skylar Ray.
There you go.
Right.
We just spent Saturday with him on Another Chance and John, and we didn't even know the people that were with us last night were there with us Saturday night from Serenity Lane and from Hazelden Betty Ford.
Yeah.
It's just such a small, amazing world. And I have to tell you, the recovery world, there in is our recovery too. But I want you to know, I personally wouldn't want to be part of any other clique than the recovery world, whether that's NA, AA, Crimin, variety. It is some of the...
It's a movement, right?
All
the
the
shit
A's.
we've been,
As we
and
say,
the
all
shit
the
we've
A's.
been through together,
Yeah, we love them.
Look, it is better than, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Last night after the Crimanon meeting, I took a young lady home. She happened to live in Hillsboro, not too far, probably about 5 miles from my house, her dad's place. But she had been clean for 3 days, and she went to Another Chance treatment center, and there's 3 or 4 of them got on the bus, and it took them an hour and a half to get to our meeting. And they went to our meeting, man, and afterwards we're trying to figure out how to get the folks home that get out there. And I gave her a ride home, and she definitely wanted to stop by Dairy Queen on the way back. You get hungry when you just start getting clean.
I live one block from Dairy Queen.
It's the business.
It
right?
is the business.
When you need a dessert, that's the business.
Our other board member graduated from Another Chance. And I go to a meeting every Tuesday at Another Chance, trying to bridge them from treatment
into the regular,
into another program. And my daughter graduated from Another Chance and has 9 months sober yesterday.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
I trusted John with my only child.
That's right.
Yeah. And like you,
I'm trying to get together with John. Maybe I can get a connection through you or something later. But
depends if I get that sweatshirt.
And there might be a sweatshirt in for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to talk to him.
My new goals, and it sounds stupid, I had to dress professional for a long time. My goals are not to ever wear nylons again. It feels like fake skin. And to be able to wear tennis shoes and recovery shirts everywhere
that's really
I go.
Comfy.
Yeah.
I got one on, right?
I love it. That's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah.
You're talking about housing and stuff. Amanda from True Colors just bought a house, and it's for the people that are getting out of prison.
You bet.
And not just recovery.
Yeah.
And Amanda goes into the prison. Mm-hmm. I've seen her do so much work.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She's an amazing individual.
I just inspected their home. I'm a NAR inspector. So I inspect recovery homes through MACBO. Yeah. So that's
certified through MACBO.
That's one of my hats I put on is the NAR inspector.
You got so many hats, man.
Yeah, I know, man.
You got game.
Yeah. He's still got game. Trust me.
I gotta stay busy.
Yeah, he's got plenty of game.
I stay busy too. It's a good thing.
It's
just like when you said Fora. I don't know. I'm going to some meeting there next Thursday, and I'm on some committee. I'm so excited. They asked me. Yeah,
Fora is awesome. I got a shout out for them because
they've been huge.
Yeah, and what I really like about
100% housing.
Yeah,
their houses are through Transcending Hope has houses with them that they help manage, and so now it was like Devarshi Bajpaj is the new executive director of Fora.
Met him.
Shout out to Devarshi, and he's my homie from way back, and we were together on the board of DDA. You might remember back in the day, I told you that story. Full circle. Now that's
amazing.
Got this huge appointment, right? And I went and had a meeting with him, and I was like, look, we were really passionate about having housing for those that get detoxed as your detox center when they get out, so they don't have to go back to the same environment.
Exactly.
And I said, this is the passion. We need a post-detox stabilization housing.
Yep.
And it's a thing now. Yeah. They actually have a house with have two different
amazing.
Houses.
They have more than that even.
They're right across from Zane's house, right down the street off of 111th and Stark. And it's like, and seeing them, but Blackburn's doing it as well.
One of them too,
Yeah. And now all of a sudden you see this movement, and it's great to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Because we're one big family and we're one big connection.
Like you said, that honestly is the connection. Yeah. We help you, you help us.
Yeah. I heard early on the silos, and everything was so siloed. And everybody had the same, they all wanted to do the good, but they were all doing it separately. And so now to have us come together,
it's changed.
And become a community together. A power. So what is the saying? What we couldn't do alone, we can do together.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a huge thing's changed here in Portland.
Yeah.
We're lucky we're in Portland as well.
It's the future, right? And it needs to be happening all across this country. I think we're a leader in it.
Yeah, I do too.
Portland's really
Oregon's always been that way.
Yeah, we'll be a model for the country.
I know.
I said that we're going to be a smart city.
Yeah.
Smart and clean, let's hope.
Can I tell you? I think Peter will tell you, I live in the ghetto, or the land of opportunity.
There you go.
138th in Division.
Let's go.
We're neighbors.
There was the trailers were right by my house, and it was devastating. They would come into my condos, and we were the first thing you could see from their trailers. And the stealing, the whatnot, just the getting the trailers there and into a different spot. Oh my God. Peter will tell you he likes driving through there now. Before it was like, and we see the trailers. Peter will be like, oh, that trailer's from Clinton, 136 in Clinton.
Right.
And I'm just telling you, it was like a drive-through. But what I see, my point in that is that I see it getting better.
Yeah.
And Peter told me, and he's, no, Julie, we're going to get there. Yes. It's just going to take a few years. He told me this because I was like, a little devastated about it every day.
Mhm.
When seeing it is hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I live down there off 111th and Division, in between Division and Stark. In that area where I am,
By the TikTok.
down that street. And so a lot of crime in that area.
Yes.
I've had my shop broken into twice, and they've taken over $10,000 worth of my tools.
Oh, geez.
And so,
He's a tool guy.
yeah, I have to have tools to work, and the tools are expensive, and I worked hard for them. So to see them go away is really hard for me.
Yeah.
But then I think about
How many tools did I steal?
Karma is a
Right.
mother, isn't it? But hey, I've got to be getting close. A lot of stuff has happened to me in the last 6 years. I've lost a lot of things, and I try to give back as much as I can.
You'll get there. I promise you.
Yeah, I think I will too.
I'm now at the point where it's more than before. And
Your karma bank.
Yeah, my karma bank is like in the 10 plus now.
Right. I'm hoping that pretty soon
But I did so much work
You'll
too
balance
saying
out.
I was a bad girl. Like
Right.
people don't understand. And not just the escort service.
Right.
He
I
said
got
something to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. People don't know where I come from. They don't have a clue the things. So when I say I was at the bottom of the barrel, you better hope you weren't on that barrel anywhere. Because to climb up that barrel, that's what I wanted. And I would take and do whatever I had to. And I'm not proud of it. And I don't talk about that very much. No, I don't need to. But what I do, like we have our 10th step, we talk about making a living amends. I can't go back to the people that I've harmed and stole from
Mine
and say,
are dead,
hey, I
most
stole
of them.
from you.
Mhm.
I did this. I would be a person the rest of my life. But we do service work instead. We
right.
get back that
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
That makes me feel better. Maybe I can't make personal amends to that person, but by the work that I'm doing,
Yes.
that's what I want.
And
is to
here's
be-
the other thing. Not all amends need to be made.
No.
Okay. Sometimes they can hurt you or they can hurt others. Not
That's
all
right.
amends need to be made.
And that was
Yeah.
a big thing in the think tank. We wanted to have that step,
Mhm.
talk about the living amends. And so a lot of discussions were made by I call them the founding fathers of criminal.
I love that.
But yeah, so our 10th step is we made direct or living amends to others and ourselves. We put ourselves in there too, right? Sometimes we need amends to ourselves
I think that's been the hardest part.
by our dedication to our fields of merit, causing no harm. We did borrow the fields of merit thing from the Boy Scouts, the merit patches, the merit badges.
the merit
right?
badges,
you
yeah.
remember them? Yeah. But we have merit badges instead. And so if you do so many hours, we want to create it. We just got our first Letterman Elder jackets. And so we're going to have they're really cool.
Oh, that's so
I'm
cool.
joining and I want a Letterman's jacket more than anything.
Yeah,
Right.
and
They are.
so we're going to have patches that we put on go down the
Of things
arms.
that we've done.
So if you've done
That's
so many
cool.
hours of community service in certain areas, you get that patch.
I'm going to
It's your
join that.
secretary. It's a
I'm
lot
not
of fun.
joking.
Yeah.
Right.
I want a cool Letterman's jacket.
Come join us.
Yeah,
It's
man.
totally my style too. I'm a sports girl.
These are maroon
Yeah.
and gray. And then they have Crimanon across the front and
Yeah, this Crimanons across the
our
front. The
number on
sisters
the
have
back,
black
on
and
the
pink.
shoulder. Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
he's one and I'm two. That's
You get a number when you become an elder. You get a number.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting on this
Yeah.
and I want number for Larry Bird. Just saying. No.
They're really, we talked about these hoodies or these jackets from day one.
Yeah.
And it took what? 3 years, 4 years for us to actually get them.
Peter,
Yeah.
We'll get jackets someday.
I want a jacket. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're real
A lot of
nice.
fun.
They're real
I
nice.
love it.
No, it's so cool to have that mindset after all we've been through, right?
Mm.
To be so proud and to be able to want to advertise. Look at me.
So that cursive criminal
Yeah,
baseball teams,
it
you
looks
know, it's
sharp.
just
Like
ridiculous.
Alabama
Yeah.
Crimson.
Yeah, it looks just like a
Mhm.
baseball.
Looks just
I
like
think
it.
that's so
Yeah, cursive
awesome.
coming up
It's up
the
there. It's
chest.
like the felt.
You know how
Yeah,
much I
the
love
felt.
that
Yeah.
because, no offense, Peter,
It's all about the gear.
is
It is.
and in my home group, I know more about sports than the entire group put together because
Oh, yeah.
they like the theater or the plays, and I'll always be like, "I gotta go. The game is on."
You're going to be friends with, there's a group of us. We all collect sports cards and we're big sports people. So we talk about all the games. And
So
we
my
watch
dog's
them,
name
and-
is Duke, named after
So
Duke
it's the
University and
wholesome
Coach K. So yeah.
Yeah,
You remember how we went on that tangent I did with Izzy and the Xanadu? This is what's happening here with the sports.
Now you know how I felt.
Yeah.
Him and Izzy talked about fucking Xanadu with Olivia Newton-John for 25 minutes. I've never even seen the fucking movie. And I was like, are
my
we really
gosh.
talking about Xanadu, guys?
Right. Let's talk about birds.
Got a bird ornament this year for Christmas.
Do you have one of his cards?
No.
I'll give you one.
Yeah.
I have a card for
My wife knows more about sports than I do.
Yeah.
I'm that girl.
I don't have time. I just don't have time.
Exactly.
I'm getting them into it though.
He's trying to. I've got some cards now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know anything about them, but I have some cards.
I have Derek Jeter's rookie card.
Oh, we need to talk.
I'm just saying, yeah.
You do have a card.
Before we get too far off topic
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
I just
yeah.
want to say thank you so much for
Thanks for
being
having
here
us.
today
Yeah.
and for being so vulnerable and open with your stories and yourselves. And this has been a treat.
This actually has been fucking awesome.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this
We
because
have.
ever since I first heard of Crimanon, I was like, whoa. And I think it was Bo who
It was
turned
Bo.
me onto
Yeah.
it. And I was like, what? I'm like, I got to know more about this. So this has been fantastic.
Thanks for
Bo
having
said he
us.
would hook us up, and then I saw you at the awards ceremony, and I said, I'll hook my fucking self up. Right? And I was like, I told Peter, I gotta go. I gotta go over here, and ran to give you the
Right.
card.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's
It
awesome.
works.
We really appreciate you having us.
Thanks so much.
It was
Yeah,
great to be
this has
here.
been wonderful.
Yeah.
And signing off, I'm Peter.
I'm Julie.
This is the Real Recovery Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Yay.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks to each and every one of you for lending us your ears and hearts. Your engagement is what fuels our passion and keeps this podcast thriving.
We cherish the moments we share here and hope they resonate with you, whether you're on a daily commute, at the gym, or just taking a moment for yourself.
Make sure to head over to our website at realrecoverypodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter for the latest insights and uplifting stories from our community delivered straight to your inbox.
Click that subscribe button on your favorite podcast player too, so you can keep up with every new episode. It's your support that keeps our conversation alive and meaningful.
And if our stories have touched you, consider using the donate button on our site. Your contributions, no matter the size, are deeply appreciated. They help us continue our mission of sharing hope and healing.
Join us beyond the podcast and follow our journey on social media. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and on X, formerly known as Twitter. All the links are on our site, so you can stay connected and be a part of the Real Recovery community every day.
Your likes, shares, and comments not only spread the message of recovery, but also remind us that we're all in this together.
So, until we meet again, remember that recovery is a journey, not a destination, and we'll be here to accompany you every step of the way to recovery, real recovery.
Thanks for listening.